maybe one last question, but it's a very, I think it's a important question and quite difficult. You know, in the democracy, we have different parties, right? Different parties. Or is party an essential part, and you know, a necessary, unavoidable part of a society, or party is just like a step of the society of the democracy?
Well, you know, it varies how many parties you have in different democracies. In the US, basically, you have a two-party system, right? Which is one reason the US have gotten so polarized, because when you have two parties, you can easily sort of get this division. In Sweden right now, we used to have 5, now we have 7 parties. So I don't think there is a set number of parties you have to have a democracy. What you have to have is that it has to be legally allowed to have more than one party. Otherwise, it's not a democracy, right? There has to be competition so that people have a choice. If there's only one party, there's no choice and there's no democracy. So the important thing is that there's political competition, and that people can go out and listen to these parties and find out which party best corresponds with the political views that they have, and then vote for that party or for some other party. There has to be a choice. Otherwise, it's not a democracy. But there is not a set number of parties, and parties come and go. We've had some parties that just disappeared, and then some new parties come, and that's how it goes in a democracy.
And but because the party, like you know, they need votes, right? Something like that, some sort of a voting to become the winner, you know, like so the party with more money, with more resources to get people to vote for them, will unlikely to win the competition. So is this I mean, like is democracy can be some sort of decline toward oligarchy, like you know?
Yeah, no, that's also a big challenge. Absolutely, an oligarchy is not a well-functioning democracy. I mean, what you need is some laws regulating how political campaigns are financed, for example. And I think one really important explanation of the situation in the US now is that the Supreme Court overruled this law, Citizen United, a decision they made a good 10 years ago now, which allowed for new tons of campaign money going into these super PACs, these kind of organizations that channeled money to the politics. So suddenly it was much easier to let people with a lot of money influence politics. And that's really bad, right? In Sweden, we have quite strict regulations around campaign funding and so on. But once in a while, parties try to sort of ignore that and get money otherwise. So there's always a constant efforts to sort of to go around the legislation and try to get money. And so, yeah, if you want the democracy to work, you have to make sure that it's not the parties that have the richest supporters that dominate the society and get the most votes, because then it's not working. So democracy is a complex thing, right? Complex, because you need all this regulation for things to actually work.
Okay, I think so. We still have a lot of things to do to form the better and improve the definition and the practice of the democracy, right? Like in the world.
Yeah, and it's also like you're saying, practice, right? As individual citizens, we have to practice what it's like to live in a democracy. We have to practice disagreeing with people and accepting compromise. You don't always get what you want in a democracy. You know, typically you don't. You get some of the things you want. So there will be disagreements and compromises. But the thing about democracy is that things can change, because next time around you vote again, and then maybe things will go more your way, right? So through public debate and through voting, things can change. I think a fundamental idea in a democracy is that we may be wrong, and we may change how things are done. because we discover that things were not done in a good way. If it's the schools or the health system or what it is, through public debate and knowledge, we discover things are not working well. And so then we vote out the politicians that did these things and we get new politicians. We can change things. And that's really a fundamental idea in a democracy. Yeah, but there are several institutions that are absolutely essential for a democracy, right? There has to be a court system that works. That's not politically ruled, but that is an independent court system. And there has to be academic freedoms and universities that can pursue research the way they want. And then the journalistic institutions are essential, and the schools. So there are many institutions. Democracy is not just voting plus some freedoms and rights. These freedoms and rights don't function unless you have all these institutions around. So that's absolutely right.
Yeah, thank you. Maybe see you later.
See you later. Bye.
Bye-bye. Have a good day.
You too.